So next up, we have co-presenters, Ellie Maclin and Jon Taylor. And I will invite them in as they get ready here. They are going to describe the project processes, final design, and current system state, including integrations with CMS and billing. And they are from Jackson Energy Authority, also known as JEA. I hope that's okay that we can abbreviate that, in Jackson, Tennessee. So Ellie and Jon, if you are ready, I will go ahead and let you take it from here.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Well, good morning or afternoon, everybody, depending on what part of the country you're in or what part of the world you're in. Maybe good evening. My name is Jon, and I'm with Jackson Energy Authority. I'm the GIS person that I typically deal with GIS here, and that is not a lightweight place to be. My title is business analyst, and we're just here to talk to you quickly about what we're doing with Cityworks for electric processes. A quick little background: Jackson Energy Authority is a multi-utility. If it is a utility that can be sold or marketed, we deal with it, and that includes fiber to the home. It includes water, wastewater, gas, electric, propane, everything. And you may be wondering, where is Jackson, Tennessee? Well, we're about halfway between Memphis and Nashville in the western end of Tennessee. So if we take a left out of town, we might end up in blues country in Memphis. If we take a right, we might end up in Nashville. So we route about 33,000 customers per utility. And since we're a multi-utility, when we have to count things by the meter point, we're roughly around 120 to 135,000 meters, depending on how you count things. So that's a little background on JEA. Now, why did we want to do a electric pilot, and why now? Well, just a little background on that. Our electric division had been, of course, working along quite happily through the history of JEA up on into the 2000s, and we had some green screen applications. We had some billing applications. We had bills of material. We had lots of things that were out there available for them, and they, of course, used them and made great use of them. But the technology was changing, and it was a little bit difficult for them to track what was going on out in the truck. We were to a point where they had plenty of work to do and a difficult way of accounting for it, if you will. We had originally brought in Cityworks for our water and wastewater divisions through a larger project that was going on for that. And as that product was rolled out, the other utilities began to take notice. Our gas division had some outstanding inspections that they really wanted to kind of streamline and maneuver into a better packaging for themselves. And so they took advantage of that, and it just kind of turned into more of a peer pressure kind of situation. I guess maybe electric kind of felt like, hey, these other guys are getting away with something. So not really. We really planned it that way. So electric division's workload came along and was pretty evident that it was time to start moving some of their processes into it. We started that, I think electric was 2018. They started to get into that. So as we got into the project, we started to pilot it and talk about what were we going to do to help electric. What were we going to do to bring their system along? And it was pretty evident that we have plenty of complexity going on in our environment here. First off, as a multi-utility, I can speak firsthand towards this, towards the difficulty that we have. We are an ARC FM customer as well, so City of Tallahassee responder. Yeah, we got that. We run a SQL database. We're also a Microsoft shop, so we've standardized on Microsoft products. We have SQL Server currently running about SQL Server 2014, with the caveat there, a little asterisk above the database list item. We are running our SQL Server 2014 database in 2012 compatibility mode. So we've got some older stuff running right now. We are using ArcGIS 10.2 for a desktop, and our server environment is 10.5.1. We will be upgrading very soon, and once that upgrade has happened, we're going to be on a little bit more current database platform and an ArcGIS desktop platform. We'll be moving server to 10.7.1, and we could have gone a little bit further with this upgrade that's coming up. However, we did not want to get into an upgrade of Cityworks. So because we're at Cityworks 15.4.4, we felt like that was far enough to move our GIS environment up. Once we are stable and upgraded, then of course exciting stuff happens and we start to look at another project, upgrading Cityworks and GIS again. So anyway, by way of complexity, that's kind of what our architecture looks like. This is just another view of some of the complexity that we've got. This is just our electric, in our catalog, our electric data set with some of the object classes that we've got riding above that. It's just complex out there, you know, that's just the way it was. So as we knew all of those complexities were there and we were entering into our conversations with the electric division leadership and field guys, the one predominant thing that came out of these meetings was, you know, make it super easy. So at least they said please, and we heard them loud and clear. We wanted to make this something that, from a pilot perspective, we were able to really show them that they could do this. And part of the complexity that they saw was from the water and wastewater and gas pipes. So they didn't want to jump off onto that. This is just kind of a descriptor for you to see that you can make some small things happen in Cityworks. It doesn't have to be huge. And this is kind of showing a one single feature class that we were publishing out for our initial pilot service. And we just split it out, this one single feature class, based on whether it was an active or an inactive light. So we pushed that out there for the guys to see. In Cityworks, of course, here's a description of the REST endpoint on our GIS server. And ultimately, the map on the right-hand side is a little bit more complex just because we've rolled extra things out there by now. And that's a more current image showing our environment as it is. So we started with the pilot of our security lights. It was a project that was going to be mainly worked by night crews, and our team was ready to go with this pilot project. And kudos to all the team members out there that aren't named Jon Taylor anyway, because they were willing to go out there and help at night. They were willing to take the calls. They were available. They made themselves available, and ultimately, the team was very successful for this project. They really listened to their customer. And even if it was through string a tin can, they were able to roll out something that our electric crews found simple and available to them and accessible to them. So with that, I will hand it off to my partner here, Ellie, and let her show you a little bit more about what we've done with electric, even beyond that pilot.
Thanks, John. So I'd really like to take you guys through a little bit of the project design that led us through the pilot implementation and then into the larger electric rollout. So first of all, JEA has been around for 60 years this past year. So legacy systems are definitely something that we deal with every day. We knew from the beginning that if we were going to have Cityworks work within the electric division, we had to build into what they were already using and hopefully build out from there and improve some processes for them. But if it didn't work from the beginning, this would be a project that did not succeed. So let's take a look first at just the project design. On the right-hand side here, you'll see service requests and work orders that related to the pilot project specifically. We started with outdoor lighting. We had originally thought that we might choose a process that did not involve integration with some of our other systems, with our CIS or with our billing division. But this was a place that the electric folks knew needed improvement and needed a better method of record keeping. And so at the end of the day, this was what the division opted to use as our pilot. So that early design involved a great deal of stakeholder engagement. So we worked with everyone from the upper level administrators and decision makers in the electric division down to the guy and the gal in the truck that would be using the Cityworks interface on a tablet after dark. We actually did several ride-alongs to better understand the process. And once we understood the information that they wanted to maintain, we built out a prototype and then took it back to them. And we didn't just take it into a conference room. We actually set up a few test tablets and took them out in the field with the guys. And the first time around, I was the one using the tablet and following along parallel to their processes. We altered a few things, and then we went back again and began training a couple crew members that we knew were open to the idea. After that first round of testing, we made a few changes, and what we took back to them to begin training on was something that they had had input on and felt ownership of. From there, we did formal training and moved into the production environment. We allowed them use of the system, both field crews and the office staff, over a weekend to get used to working within this environment. And then at the end of that time period, we wiped the test orders from the system and pushed to a formal go live. And at that point, we were on call for IT support calls. And we had a fair number of them probably in the first week. You know, we'd get the call from the truck at midnight or 1 a.m. But we saw those drop drastically, almost to zero within the first week. And that was just that original, adjustment period. And once folks understood where things were in the app, where to find their work, how to pass their work on to the next individual in the process, we saw them drop to nothing. And every once in a while, we'll have an issue with, it's more likely to be an issue with the iPad than with Cityworks when we have somebody call in now. So there's always this dance between simplicity and visibility. You want things to be simple for the end user, but everybody has to be able to see everything they need to see. So everything that's assigned to them, but in a way that's not cluttered, in a way that makes sense. It's important to find your loose ends early. And for us, that was in billing and reporting. So what we really needed to do to be successful was to improve work tracking and record keeping for the electric division, for that internal process. And then we had to provide the same visibility for billing and our individual users who used our customer information system and our financial information system. So these are folks that may not have access to Cityworks. For example, our CSRs, we didn't want to train on a new system. They have a system that works well for them. They're able to report their work and move on. So what we've set up instead is an integration between our CIS and Cityworks. So when those service orders in the CIS come in, they automatically create through that service request API the related service request in Cityworks. And then the final piece is really to better use and improve our GIS asset information, and with that, our asset tracking. So take a look at this inspection on the right. This is a light installation and removal, and this was really the core of the pilot project. In these ride-alongs, we found that this information was being reported on the back of a piece of paper. Some guys were using OneNote. But what they needed was a way to report what light was removed and where it was replaced. That had to go back to the storeroom, but it was not reported in our CIS. It's not large enough to be an asset. So it's an assembly or a bill of material, and this is what was falling through the cracks. It's also important because of that warranty information at the bottom. If we're still in warranty, then that's something that needs to be reported to billing. If we're out of warranty, that's something we're responsible for ourselves. So again, the active lights were a large part of our original pilot rollout, and we only had really 3 work order types here. We had outdoor lighting work orders that could be created as a child of that original service request. And then we had 2 types related to GIS changes. One was a map change if something needed to be moved on the map. So for example, we had an instance early on where we were standing in the field in front of a light pole that was not reported on the map. So this allows our GIS drafter to understand that an edit needs to be made and get the information that she needs. So rather than waiting until we had a perfect system, we're actually using Cityworks to help improve our GIS asset management so that in the future we'll be able to report on more types of work and track particular asset classes better. So you'll note that this is actually a gas valve. This is the process that John was referencing that was part of the reason electric became more interested in Cityworks as a whole. And what we're able to do here is show the work in space. So this helps the guys know what's left to do and when it's required to be done. Hang on. I'd like to back up one. There we go. So this is a little more of what the system looks like as of today. We're now managing our meter changeouts. These are our repeated processes. All of our distribution service request types are now in Cityworks. And right-of-way clearing has been a big success. They're able to see and understand when the work needs to be done. Some of this is cyclical or repetitive work, and this helps them track the window in which it needs to be done. So again, nothing slips through the cracks. In other cases, these will be individual types of work that need to be triggered when somebody goes out into the field, conducts an inspection, and determines that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. So we've built these out over time, and each of them maps to service request types or work orders that are applicable either to our CIS or to other internal electric processes. And we've got just a partial sample of our admin dashboard, which is just an inbox inside Cityworks that allows them to see what's been recently done, what's still out there to do, and then again, just to make sure nothing falls through the cracks, we have lists, larger lists of all open order types and what's been recently closed. We'll be talking more about that at Innovate in June. If anybody wants to dig a little deeper, that will be the time. So just for a few quick takeaways, we've seen a 70% reduction in paper. And along with that, we know that we're better tracking information on things like bulbs and light, these smaller pieces of equipment. We know we have a larger savings in truck rolls and mileage. We estimate about 81K annually, and that's just from extra rolls to reread meters or cases where the guys are coming back into the office multiple times a day to pick up fresh work from the printer. We also have a significant reduction in administration, and they're estimating 4 to 6 weeks of work per year for 2 or even more individuals just tracking this work, maintaining information, and reporting on it. And I had several people say to me, this is from the head of electric all the way down to the office managers, that it's really difficult to know what you don't know. We are aware that we're doing better. We know that we're collecting, storing, and retrieving information better than we have been in the past. But it can be difficult to put a number on on fixing the problems that we don't know we're missing. It's always important to push the edges of your design, and this is one of our biggest lessons learned. Every time we thought we knew where the start and end points were, the goalposts would move a little bit. So for example, we had to be able to build into the CIS, and we had to ensure visibility for billing on the back end. And it's been important for us to design outward from the GIS record wherever possible. And where we don't have complete information, to use Cityworks to improve that information for future processes. Really, at the end of the day, in order to be successful, it does come down to listening. So when you start with a solid design, you're asking questions and you're listening to how the work is done. This allows you to identify problems and pain points. From there, we can build solutions that work with and build on the processes that are out there now. For us, we found that that's really how you can drive user adoption, and that's how you can measure success.